So the next stage for the soup is measuring out the rest of the ingredients to add whilst cooking. As I was describing before, I find nature so exciting, yet so terrifying. We rely on it heavily, but can we really trust it? There are endless possibilities with nature, and so much can go wrong so easily. I think it makes you value nature more when you begin to grow something. It makes you realise how important it actually is to our lives. Preparing the ingredients first makes it easier for when you start to cook, as everything's all ready to be added and used. So I would start with boiling water for the stock. Use a kettle to boil the water, it's much easier. Whilst I wait for the kettle to boil, I'll measure out the rest of the ingredients. So this recipe uses orange juice. This seems a really strange ingredient for a soup, but it really works well with the tangy cress, giving it a beautiful, fresh taste. I would use about half a cup of orange juice. So once the water is boiled, measure about a cup of water and add a stock cube, chicken or vegetable. I'm going to use a vegetable cube. Give the stock cube a stir to fully dissolve in the water. This way you don't get any lumps and the flavour is distributed evenly. Then you need to also measure the yoghurt. Cream could be used if you do not have yoghurt available. I would use about a quarter cup. So remember, all of these measurements are for 2 portions, but double them for 4. Even with my small amount of cress that I am growing, I feel the importance of it. My project relies on it. It's so hard to imagine being a farmer who has this pressure tenfold for the growth of their crops. Their livelihood relies on it. I was really nervous for my little seedlings at first, but now I am so proud of them. They have flourished and grown and are now part of a beautiful dinner for me. So please join me again later in part 3, where I will show how to cook the ingredients and discuss more about my project.
Well, you got us to empathise with the cress and think of it as a personality, and then you chopped it up. It was painful.
I know, had to be done.
Thank you, Farah. Okay, we'll see you again in 15 minutes. So now we're going to go to Natasha and have our language lesson. Natasha. Natasha.
I'm really sorry, but I will not be able to interact because I don't feel too well.
Okay, so we just want to play it then.
Yes, I'm
Okay.
sorry.
Hello and welcome to my last segment in the live stream. In this part, I will show you a couple of interesting phrases about nature in both Russian and Polish, and we will get to compare these two languages that are from the same family of languages. So let's compare two Slavic languages and their vocabulary about nature. First, we need to understand where on the position in the Slavic language family tree are both Russian and Polish. As you can see, Russian falls onto the East Slavic category, which are pretty far apart. Now you can place your bets, whether there would be many similar words or only just a couple. Bets placed? All right, let's start with the first word. Human. As you can see, in Polish, this word is człowiek. Człowiek. Simple, right? And in Russian, the word is pronounced человек. 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 It sounds pretty familiar, don't you think? I don't know. As a Polish person, if I heard that word on the street, I would definitely think it sounds like człowiek. All right, let me pronounce these two again so you can have a good grasp at what these two sound like. Człowiek. 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 Then, nature. The mother word for everything that nature offers. In Polish, it's przyroda. Przyroda. And in Russian, surprisingly, it's very similar. Природа. Природа. As you can see, so far, we have two similar words. And as a Polish person, I can vouch for them that they sound similar. Once again, przyroda. Przyroda. Природа. Природа. As I said before, I'm not Russian. However, I have been learning Russian and Russian pronunciation ever since I started learning the vocabularies. And as a Polish person, I can see the similarities. Tree. Trees make up of 50% of all the oxygen on Earth. That's why they're super important when you're talking about nature. And here are the words we use when we talk about trees in Polish and Russian. In Polish, tree is drzewo. Drzewo. In Russian, surprise, surprise, it's дерево. Дерево. Again, not a big difference. Sounds pretty similar to the Polish one. Once again, drzewo. Drzewo. Дерево. Дерево. Grass. Again, another thing that pops into my mind when I think about nature. And these two words are surprisingly 100% the same. The pronunciation is the same. The spelling is even the same, considering that our W and their V is the same letter. Okay, Polish, trawa, trawa. Russian, trawa, trawa. They would probably have pronounced it with more Russian accent, but considering I'm not Russian, I unfortunately cannot pull this off. However, you can probably see now how similar those languages are. Okay, onto sound. In Polish, we pronounce sound as piasek, piasek, or additionally, you could say piach. And in Russian, you pronounce it as piesok, 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 which kind of sounds like a little dog in Polish. But comparing these two, they definitely sound similar. So there's a big probability that they derive from the same source. Next, we have animal, which is another big part of nature. The fauna and flora. While we have some of the flora covered up, we didn't cover any animals yet. So here's the word for general animal. In Polish, it's zwierzę, zwierzę. And in Russian, finally, a different word. Животные, животное. Honestly, I have a hard time pronouncing this word because in Polish, all letters are pronounced the same. You could pronounce them as you pronounce them in the alphabet. In Russia, it's mostly also the case. However, sometimes there are some exceptions in that. And considering the fact that in my language we don't have any of those, I'm still sometimes stuck on not knowing how to pronounce certain letters. So you would have to forgive me on that, but I think that the Google Translate pronunciations are pretty accurate. Now onto the planet we occupy, Earth. In Polish, it's called Ziemia. Ziemia. Dirt. In Russian, they call it Ziemia. Ziemia. It's pretty similar, as you can see. When I was researching the words for this, I was actually pretty surprised by how many similarities there were between these two languages. I always knew how similar Polish and Russian are, but when I finally get to compare them, I cannot help but feel amazed. All right, now onto a popular fruit, both in Russia and Poland. In Poland, apple is jabłko. Jabłko. In Russia, they call it jabłko. Jabłko. Pretty similar again, as you can guess. And the last word we have on our list is forest. In Polish, we call them las. In Russia, the word for forest is les. All right, let's go through all of them again. Człowiek, człowiek. Przyroda, природа. Drzewo, drzewo. Trawa, trawa. Piasek, piesok. Zwierzę, животное. Ziemia, ziemia. Jabłko, jabłko. Las, les. As you can see, exploring the differences between languages and similarities can be really fun, and it leads to many amazing discoveries.
Thank you, Tasha. That was amazing. So there we are. I wonder who learned any of it. I certainly didn't, because language isn't my forte. Okay, thank you so much. So moving